Do you wake up every day fired up to make a difference? Are you committed to taking your nonprofit to the next level and beyond? I have news for you. Success isn't about hard work or passion. It's about having a smart, scalable strategy in place. Hi, I'm Tom Kelly, your nonprofit catalyst. You may know me as the CEO of Charity Auction Today and Donor Books, or the author of The $1 Million Nonprofit. What I help nonprofits achieve that give them a significant edge and a clear path to substantial growth is the ability to strategically fundraise and effectively engage their community. And that's what I'm going to share with you right here on the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast. In each episode, I'm going to take you behind the scenes to reveal the strategies, techniques, and tactics of successful nonprofits so that you can put these into practice immediately to grow your organization. No matter if we are talking about common pitfalls nonprofits make and how to avoid them, exploring how to accelerate your next fundraising campaign, looking at how to attract ideal donors, or everything in between, this conversation is designed to drive your nonprofit forward. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back to the $1 Million Nonprofit. Today, we're exploring a cutting-edge topic that's reshaping the way nonprofits fundraise: crypto philanthropy. It's not just about accepting cryptocurrency donations. It's about leveraging new technology to create innovative fundraising strategies that can expand your nonprofit's reach. Whether you're a crypto novice or looking to take your fundraising to the next level, this episode is packed with insights that will transform your approach. To guide us through this exciting space, we're joined by Pat Duffy, the co-founder of The Giving Block, a Shift4 company. Pat pioneered crypto philanthropy and helped create the largest crypto giving platform, raising over $100 million for nonprofits. His expertise has helped organizations like Save the Children, United Way, and Feeding America tap into modern philanthropy through crypto and NFT donations. Welcome, Pat, to the $1 Million Nonprofit.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So we're talking about the world of cryptocurrency and donations and nonprofits. This is a topic that I've just started learning about and probably excites me the most because cryptocurrency is all over the news. And I think it's still kind of in its infancy stage where people really don't know how to start accepting it, how to implement it. Is it worth implementing? And really just kind of is now the time to think about adding a donate by crypto button on their website. So I'm excited to kind of dig into a lot of these different questions that I have to just see how easy it is for nonprofits to implement and really why they should implement it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start, Pat, with what is the main benefit that a nonprofit can get by accepting cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I would say there's two primary benefits. The first one is the immediate influx of revenue. So there's a couple $1 trillion invested in cryptocurrency currently. As a platform, we've raised close to 200 million now. In crypto donations alone, we do stock and DAF and some other stuff, but the crypto revenue channel is very real. So a lot of nonprofits are trying to get more revenue on an annual calendar budget, of course. And then also trying to get that from younger donors just to try to drive away from that average aging donor base. And then the second big reason is the great wealth transfer. So a lot of nonprofits are having a tough time getting young donors into the CRM, in addition to trying to steward them across that bridge into major gifts. And just the fact that Gen Z investors invest in crypto at a higher rate than stock at this point, and then millennials and Gen X invest at a super high rate. Nonprofits who are looking for younger donors who have that major gift capacity, building those relationships so that you can future-proof the donor base over the next 10, 15 years as the wealth changes hands. I think that's what a lot of the blue chip charities are most focused on.
Today's episode is brought to you by Charity Auctions Today, the ultimate platform for hosting successful charity auctions online or in person. With their easy-to-use software, you can raise more money, reach more donors, and make a bigger impact. Whether you're running a silent auction, a live event, or a virtual fundraiser, Charity Auctions Today has everything you need to maximize your results without all the hassle. Join over 250,000 organizations that have raised millions with their powerful auction tools. Ready to level up your fundraising? Visit charityauctionstoday.com right now to get started for free. And do you find that the younger generation of donor that has cryptocurrency currently is more likely to donate cash or cryptocurrency when it comes to supporting a nonprofit that they want to support?
They're definitely more likely to donate cash on average, even if they have a crypto investment. But I really think that's an educational issue more than anything. Like, I think it's the same reason why so many older donors still donate cash instead of things like stock, or have money in a donor advised fund where they're moving investments into those accounts. Like, if you talk to the average person, this is kind of the core of our business, is this tax incentive. They don't think of an investment as a donation method. And it's really kind of only the hyper wealthy with wealth managers and high end accountants who are having that kind of tax arbitrage conversation where it's like, oh, you could actually transfer this appreciated asset to the charity and then even use the cash you would have otherwise donated to repurchase a position in the same asset. And now you've erased the capital gains tax liability, given a larger gift, gotten a bigger write off. Like, there's all these considerations that for younger donors in particular, it's even more extreme. And that's just because they do their taxes on TurboTax. They invest in crypto on Robinhood and Coinbase. They buy stocks on Robinhood. They don't even work with a financial advisor, let alone a wealth and a tax advisor. So if the nonprofits aren't bringing it up as a donation method or actively presenting it, you're going to have a tough time finding younger donors beating your door down to send those donations. But of the donors who have crypto assets and are familiar with the tax incentive, it becomes their core donation method, in the same reason that most people don't buy their groceries with stocks. It's just not the thing you would want to do from a tax standpoint.
Well, I know over the years, crypto has exploded, and the amount of money and capital gains that a lot of people are receiving is just, through the roof. And one of the big incentives, like I've set up and work with high net worth individuals to create their family foundations. And that's one of the big things that we do with them is we teach them to donate that cryptocurrency into the foundation or just donate it to a charity, right? And your charity needs to be able to accept cryptocurrency easily, right? Which is what we're talking about today. But it's a great benefit for the nonprofit because they're getting the cryptocurrency. They can sell it for no capital gains. But then the person donating the cryptocurrency doesn't have to pay those capital gains and they can take the write-off. And so by having that option of being able to accept cryptocurrency, it's a win-win for everybody. So I might be able to donate $10,000 of appreciated cryptocurrency to a nonprofit. I can take my $10,000 tax deduction. The nonprofit gets their $10,000 donation. It's a win-win, right? So when somebody's thinking about, hey, should I add cryptocurrency to our nonprofit? Right there, the answer is yes, because you could start going to a high net worth individual and give them another option to donate to save capital gains by doing the cryptocurrency exchange.
No, you nailed it. And it's that tax incentive that backs a lot of this in the US. So like in the US, there's about 60 million crypto investors. It's a lot higher than I think the nonprofit sector perceives it to be. It's like 600 million worldwide. So it's this massive demographic. And to your point, that tax incentive is the exact same tax incentive that backs any other asset that you would donate to a nonprofit because it's appreciated. And if you want to spend it anywhere else in the world, you're going to have to pay the federal and state government capital gains taxes, which for a major donation, right? You think about 6, 7, 8-figure donations, like this could mean $800,000 in your pocket that would otherwise not be there if you weren't donating the asset.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it that way, originally I came into this thinking, okay, we want to add a donate, instead of cash or like button to donate cryptocurrency, which is a great idea to have, right? You want to make sure you have those options. But really just the ability to accept cryptocurrency easy when someone says, hey, or giving an option to donors that, hey, if you have extra cryptocurrency that it's appreciated, we can still accept that. And, just educating them on all the tax benefits. So I think that's a great, just a great tool in the tool belt for any nonprofit to make sure that they can just at least have something that they can accept it with. So, how does the adoption of crypto donations look in today's nonprofit sector? How many organizations are doing it? How easy is it to implement something? To me, to a lot of nonprofits that are maybe like an older generation, cryptocurrency is like I just don't get it. right? That's what they're thinking. So when they don't get something, they don't act on something, right? So how do you kind of explain it to somebody that's an older generation of how easy it is to potentially implement and add this to their nonprofit?
Yeah, this is why I think podcasts like yours and communities like yours are so valuable. Like there's these nonprofits that are trying to get to that $1 million mark from 1 million to five, from five to 10. There's all these different demographics and they all have different growing pains and established habits and then resources that they can invest in innovation. So the considerations, I think, vary a lot when it comes to innovation in general, depending on the size of the nonprofit and how they fundraise. Um, right now, if you look at kind of the blue chips of the world, like if you take, for instance, the Forbes top 100 nonprofits, the majority of them have crypto fundraising programs. So it's the norm for the larger nonprofits just because of the things I mentioned. Like they've got budget for innovation. And in the same way that if you go to any city in America, there's like a giant crypto presence. It's a numbers game. If you go to any large donor database, there's crypto investors in there. It's a numbers game. Nonprofits have all these different staff and departments. And when you get to these big nonprofits, it's almost an impossibility just based on, again, there's trillions of dollars invested in it, so many users that they wouldn't have some option for taking it just because they're bumping into it so often. And if they're looking at trends like AI, cryptocurrency, things that are going to be transforming the sector moving forward, they're pulling the trigger. So orgs like Save the Children have been taking crypto since 2013. Like it's been around for quite a bit for the bigger orgs. For the smaller and mid-sized orgs, what it usually comes down to is either A, they've got an internal champion who's into cryptocurrency, and that's kind of started the conversation. Or B, they're getting into this mode of expanding the options for giving, in particular with things like stock and DAF and other donation methods. There's, for younger or smaller nonprofits in particular, been a habit up until recently to not promote giving options like stock and donor advised funds, even these longstanding traditional giving options, because they were super manual. It was like a PDF with broker's instructions. Or for DAF gifts, for instance, you have to send a donor away from your site. It's untrackable, and then hope that they log into some completely separate interface and push send on a transaction. Because they avoided all those other asset and tax optimized giving, the idea of jumping right into crypto, I think, felt like an impossibility. So I think companies like Chariot having that automated way of sending DAF transfers directly in your giving form, and I think all of the donate stock type forms that have come out, like nonprofits getting into those, I would say, is the biggest like gateway drug into adding crypto, because you've got all these donors 50 and above sending those types of transfers. You're like, why not also offer the most tax optimized option for donors under 50?
Yeah, and I think about crypto as I personally invest in crypto, and it appreciated so much. I just donate it just so I can get the tax deduction. It's I made my initial I guess payment into crypto, let it grow, and then now instead of taking that money out, because of I look at it like I don't like taking the money out because of all the fees it is to sell it as an individual. That I got to pay fees, I got to pay capital gains. It's better for me, or more cost of I get a better benefit when I donate it and take the write off when I need a write off. And so a lot of people don't understand that. Some individuals, they invest in crypto, and really their biggest benefit to get out of it is, it appreciates, but it's going to be that tax write-off after they donate the crypto is really the benefit that they're going after. Because that's what I use it for. It's like, I don't want to sell it because if I sell it, I'm going to get dinged 3 times in fees and in capital gains, and then what, right? So it's better to just donate it, take the tax deduction, and it's a win-win for everybody.
100%.
Nice. So what steps should a nonprofit take if they want to start accepting cryptocurrency donations?
Number one, I would say, is like get out of your own way. And by that, I mean, there is, with every new technology, a giant misconception that you require a foundational technological understanding of this thing in order to interface with it, right? Everyone's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and combustion engines and microwave. Like there's technology, the pistons in a car. Like I think most people don't even know how like the engines work, including myself. Like there's so much technology around us all the time like supercomputers in our pocket. But with things like AI, ChatGPT, people don't touch it because they don't know that you can just pull it up like Google and start talking to it and it does everything for you. I think crypto is the same way. A lot of nonprofits are convinced that accepting crypto or fundraising crypto looks similar to investing in cryptocurrency or developing cryptocurrencies. Those things are complicated, trying to figure out which ones will go up, which ones won't, which is the best bet for the future, which solutions are the most scalable, the most energy efficient, which will win out, which will lose out, how are they being developed, which ones should be listed on exchanges and regulated securities, commodities. Like there's all this stuff going on all the time. I think nonprofits think that has something to do with them, but ultimately it's very similar to the stock market or taking donations in cash. Like the Federal Reserve really isn't how nonprofits think when they're accepting a bank transfer. Which stock should or should not be listed publicly is not what you think when you're getting, shares of Ford stock. For a nonprofit, what it really comes down to is, do you want the people who invest this way to have their most tax optimized method for sending you money, right? Do you want these younger donors? Almost 90% of millennial millionaires are crypto investors at this point. Again, Gen Zs, it's their primary investment method. If we want younger donors to give and not only give $10 a month with a credit card, but like start considering that major gifts funnel, you got to have it there on the website. And I think a lot of nonprofits are convinced that there's a lot of problems they need to solve for. And we talk to them every day, just coming through kind of our sales engine. And they're like, I spent 6 hours on Saturday trying to figure out, should we accept just Bitcoin or all these other ones too? And it's like, oh, we've got a solution that automates all of that. They're like, well, we don't know how to sell it. It's like, oh, it automatically sells instantaneously. It's a 24-hour market. We don't know how to receive it. It's like, oh, those are automatic too. We don't want to accept anonymous donations. And it's like, oh, you can turn that feature off. So the recommendation I would give every nonprofit, in short, is like, go to our website, right, thegivingblog.com, or just start Googling, even if it's not the education coming from us, but coming from somewhere else. And just look at the nonprofits who are doing it or the platforms who offer these solutions and see how many of these problems that you consider concerns are actually solved for before you start hosting those 20-minute meetings with the board where you run them through 8 scary things that might already be solved for.
Well, I think that's the big thing with crypto is nobody, for older people, it's just nobody knows anything about it. They didn't take the time. No one's researched it. People still don't understand it. It's not like you can hold something in your hand. And they just think it's very complicated to accept, very complicated to move, to sell, and they just don't know where to start. And, it seems like the Giving Block makes it very easy to just understand. And on your website, you have a ton of free information that they can basically resources that they can learn from. And even just talking with your team, they'll be able to get a ton of information. But I think that's the biggest thing is they're just not educated enough now. And it's such an easy thing to implement, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like the word education even feels like too big for it sometimes. Like the way I would frame it is you need to get that 5 minutes of education that gives you that sigh of relief that you don't need 6 months of education, right? We meet nonprofits all the time. They're doing like a blockchain education course that they found through LinkedIn, or, they're reading the Bitcoin white paper, or they're trying to learn, right, the inner workings of how NFTs work, and they're attending conferences where they're unpacking. I sat at a nonprofit conference this year, and part of it is because I think a lot of crypto experts, they learn so much, so they want to show you how much they've learned, but it's not necessarily productive. Like it was this whole room filled, I won't say what conference it is, but there were people up there, legal experts, talking about which types of payments platforms require like money transmitter licenses for cryptocurrency. And you had all these nonprofits like scribbling furiously in notebooks. And I was like, this involves none of you at all. Just to be clear, like you're not Amex, right? You're fine, right? If Amex has the license, use them. If they don't, it's not an offering. So in short, like it's getting educated enough to know what it is. Again, very similar to Chat GPT. We had an all clients meeting yesterday where we started talking about using that for like social media templates. And again, just crickets in the room. And I was like, should I screen share for a second? And I just said, I am Action Against Hunger. Write me a tweet about Crypto Giving Tuesday and use the content on my site to talk about what we do and where the money will go. And it started creating the content instantaneously. It's accepting crypto is very similar. There is a platform like us and then a support team of crypto experts and fundraisers and templates, copy and paste stuff. It's been solved for, I would say, over the last 6 years. And you can just In the same way, when you get Wi-Fi, you're not building a router. Rely on the companies and the platforms who have solved for some of the stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about technology and company like yours. It just, you take all of the pain and the headache of trying to implement something and the complexity, and you just simplify it, right? And that's really the great thing about technology these days is everything can be simplified and implemented really easily and quickly. And like you said earlier, get out of the way and let the experts handle it, and we can get it done a lot faster, and we can implement it and get you, raising money at lightning-like speeds. By just kind of getting out of the way with the things you don't know and implementing and talking to people that actually have the knowledge.
Definitely. And the only quick clarification I would give on that, because sometimes it sounds like we get it, you don't, like, don't worry about it, which I think can feel like patronizing sometimes. You can get as much education on these topics as you want, but that's different than viewing them as a barrier, I guess, is a slight reframing that I would put to that. Like, you can read the Bitcoin white paper. I did. My co-founder made me read it. I wasn't smart enough to pick it up myself. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. You can't counterfeit Bitcoin. It goes wherever it's supposed to go with 100% certainty. And the more computers involved, the more secure the network is. Oh, it's so much more cost efficient. It's so much faster. It's so much more secure. No one can pull transactions out of a wallet. You can only push. No one can take money from things. I was like, this is doing a lot of really interesting technological things that made me want to become an investor. And as a nonprofit who's working in the space, knowing about those things can make you someone who not only accepts crypto, but can interface with the donor and like the technology that they like, which is why they invested. But all of that stuff is optional, is kind of the point that I'm getting at. Like, none of those things have anything to do with the form is on your site and someone else who's decided they like it and they're investing in it is clicking send, and then it's automatically converting to dollars that you use just like any other dollars. Those two things can be held separate, right, in terms of what you choose to learn about versus what is necessary to embark upon the process of acceptance.
Very nice. What do you see the future of cryptocurrency in the nonprofit sector becoming? How big of a growth is it? What's it been like the last couple of years? Where do you see it going?
For now, I mean, it's arguable, but just because there isn't perfect reporting across every donation method, but it appears to be the fastest growing donation method, just in terms of like how rapidly it's been adopted. Like, there weren't a ton of nonprofits accepting this not that many years ago. And again, like, the majority of these blue chip nonprofits, like these owners of very large swaths of the ecosystem, are really taking it seriously and building programs here. And that's, I think, cool on the nonprofit side of the fence. Like, it's going to be this growth area where if a charity is trying to develop an additional revenue stream versus trying to take the same donations from the same donors, but at different types of fundraisers or channels, et cetera, it's kind of cool to know you're diversifying into a donor base that probably wouldn't have otherwise participated in your fundraising ecosystem. And then on the donor side of it, I think a lot of nonprofits, because of the way they fundraise, don't have a bridge for young donors into major gifts. Like, I think a lot of the reason when you see like the average age based on dollars going to a charity is so high, is not just because nonprofits only focus on these older donors, but the big donation opportunities are only focused on older donors, right? When you think about how nonprofits view younger donors, like, they're looking for building a walks team, right? They're looking for that donor to give $10 a month with a credit card. They're thinking text to give, things that have much smaller average donation size. Cryptocurrency is the only thing that I found so far where you're looking at like average donor ages, depending on the charity, that are late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, and the average gift size being 5 to 15 grand a gift because of that tax incentive. Younger donors aren't being presented stock and donor advised fund giving by these nonprofits. They're not really the gala type, right? They're not getting the major gift packet at the in-person meetings. They're kind of cut out of this. And nonprofits have this cycle of, I think, younger donors being exposed to these more limited upside giving options. The ability to present younger donors with this option where it's like, hey, you're going to be treated like a major gift donor and like an older donor who would have this higher capacity. And not just because we're asking a 30-year-old hitting their peak earning years to just give a bunch all of a sudden. We're showing you that there's this really tax incentivized giving method you might have like not considered that's mutually beneficial, right? You might have this big write-off like you were talking about, Tom, at the beginning that could get you the savings you're looking for on your tax bill while helping you fulfill what would have been maybe a 5 to 10 year pledge. So great wealth transfer bridges for younger donors when you're thinking about Gen Z, millennials, Gen X participating in your donor ecosystem at a higher level and getting that average donor age down from mid 60s into 50s, 40s, et cetera. Things like cryptocurrency and I think stocks and donor advised funds are going to be that bridge if you have it on your site and it's really easy to give.
So what are some of the ways that nonprofits, after they start accepting cryptocurrency, are engaging with those younger donors? How are they like marketing to them? How are they finding them? What is their message once they say, hey, we can, it's not like, hey, Pat, we're now accept cryptocurrency, come donate it now. Like, how are they communicating with those donors and really kind of, building that relationship with them?
Yeah, that was like our big mission when we started on this. Like the first 28 of our first 30 clients were actually charities who already took crypto. Again, like Save the Children's been doing it since 2013. We didn't even start the company until 2018. We were trying to avoid like these crypto fundraising graveyards because what happens is, to your point, it can't just be a donation method. There needs to be some fundraising strategy. And we couldn't tell you like how many of these nonprofits we talked to where they had a crypto donation option that had been sitting on the site for like 5 years. And we were like, how do you fundraise it? And they were kind of like, what do you mean fundraise it? We're like, well, how are you fundraising crypto? It's like, no. If we were running a capital campaign and someone calls us and they're like, would you take Bitcoin instead? Then we'll send them a link to a page that's not even discoverable in our ways to give menu. And we'll process the gift as it's like, oh, well, you wouldn't do that with credit cards, right? Like you wouldn't just have maybe they'll call us if they want to send us money approach, right? And they're like, no, definitely not. I'm like, I don't think we should be doing this with any giving methods. Like we should definitely be showcasing that these are options and get them to the consideration stage. And then if they opt in, they opt in. It's not like we need to make crypto, the donate button on the website, the primary focus, but donors should be bumping into it as an option, right? As a baseline. And 90% of the growth that we've seen in all of these programs, like the reason that our platform went from just like a scalable product offering to all this fundraising stuff and like subscription model that we do with charities is because so much of that work was getting neglected. And we would always talk about these donate Bitcoin buttons that just collected cobwebs sitting on some page on the site that no one saw. So that was kind of the starting point. It's not these, and we do these big crypto campaigns like the Cancer Crypto Fund that raised $1 million in a couple weeks with the American Cancer Society, or the Hodl Hope campaign. Save the Children has raised, 8-figure crypto fundraising channel. Most of the fundraising is really like you're sending a capital campaign email, and next to the donate button, there's another ways to give button now. And then in there is crypto and stock and DAF, ACH, et cetera. And donors are seeing that all throughout the year. Now they're opting into these donation forms where instead of clicking the donate button where they're $50 a month is like that primary funnel, they're getting on with a major gifts officer and being like, oh, I might send 25 grand this year because there's all these powerful tax incentives and reasons to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing. It's still a strategy that you have to implement, right? So even though you're accepting cryptocurrency as a donation method, you still need to have some type of a marketing strategy behind it and a process to kind of, one, get the awareness to it, but then two, like you said, lead them down to somebody that they can talk to that can maybe explain the benefits and then accept that larger donation because that tax benefit at the end of the year is really such a big driver, I think, especially in the crypto world, just like stocks and real estate and things like that. That this is just another asset that a lot of people just don't think about other than stocks or real estate. Those are the easiest things for nonprofits to think that, I'm going to accept all this, but it's like cryptocurrency is a whole new asset category that nobody thinks about, that they can make a lot of money in donations every year by just accepting it.
Yeah. And quickly on that, almost no nonprofits fundraise stocks or real estate or donor advised funds or even bank transfers. Like it is like pulling teeth oftentimes to even find a way to like send a nonprofit stocks and not like park it in a will. Like if you go to most nonprofit sites, it's like you click the donate button and there's just a credit card form. And you would have to like navigate back to the site. And then there's no ways to give menu. There's like a get involved menu that's like talking about volunteer opportunities and packing lunches and stuff. And then you can find like a buried hyperlink that's like wills and bequests. And like you see something about securities and you click that, it takes you to like a microsite that's like plannedgiving.charityname.org. And then there's all these ways you can add it to a will. And you're like a 35-year-old And you have to get through all of that to find like an email for like Rhonda and Major Gifts. And you have to like email her or call her and then get like a PDF with brokerage instructions. And all of the brokerage instructions are like for advisors to fill out. And you're like, oh, I'm not working with an advisor. Like, I want to send this. And then you have to call somebody to like, this is, and I'm talking about like stocks. And there's so much more money in stocks than crypto. 2 trillion in crypto is a lot of money, but like nothing like the stock market. So to your point, it's this integrated thing that, again, like stocks, like real estate, if you make it easy, if it's this menu that is just, you can bump into it, is it on the menu sort of when you're looking at ways to give? All you do is you slip the crypto thing in there. But a big part of this process is just improving the architecture. Like a lot of what we're doing with these nonprofits now is just like, I go to your site, where do I find ways to give? It's like, oh, we don't have that, or it's impossible to locate, or you can't find it on mobile. And then we clean that up. And then it's like, okay, we go to this page. How do I find stock, crypto, DAF, et cetera? Which is prioritized? Where does it sit? And then you just kind of let your donors bump into it. It really is a very simple strategy once you get that architecture set up. But I would say well over 95% of nonprofits have a website where if you're not giving with a credit card, it takes a lot of lifting to go find those alternate options. And if you're a donor over 50 or under 50 rather, who's used to like streamlined flows that are a bit more frictionless, like you're dropping left and right and you're just Googling, where can I send my Bitcoin?
Well, and I think the other thing is a lot of organizations collecting stocks and real estate, then now you got to take it, manage it, and figure out what you're going to do with it. With accepting crypto, it's just like accepting cash. It's a lot easier than having to take stock, sell stock, take real estate, sell real estate. So it should just be, if you're collecting cash, you should be collecting crypto. They should just go one and one together. Even if you don't want to accept, stock or real estate, but crypto and cash should go hand in hand, and you should definitely have the way of doing both.
Yeah. And you actually don't have to do that with stocks or real estate anymore either. So you can, if you want to, if you're like trying to save like percentage point on like a transaction and just like manage an estate sale from that down, like you can do that. But most charities do it because they think it's the only way. Like what's really interesting, I'd say, with stocks and everything else, we thought crypto would be really hard to get nonprofits into. And it's difficult, of course. It's a new thing. But it's been nothing like we do stock and DAF processing. That's been even harder because a lot of nonprofits are convinced, oh, we've got that problem solved for. And to your point, they have a system on their website where you can contact them and give through a brokerage. And it's this whole manual process of acceptance and sale. And then like contacting the donor, say, is this your transaction? Because there's no form filled out and details coming through, and then manual entry into your CRM, and then a stewardship journey outside of it. Same with real estate and everything else. There are solutions for all of these things. Like you can take stock through your website via a donation form and have it automatically accepted and sold, and you just get an ACH transfer into your bank account. You can do that with real estate even. With DAF transfers, for sure, you can take them on site through that Chariot integration. Chariot's fantastic. And any DAF account that exists in the world, like any of the big primaries, like dozens and dozens and dozens of them, they log in like Plaid directly on your site. It scans their account for the balance. It recommends a gift size using AI to increase the averages. And then as they initiate the transfer, all the details of the donor goes into your form and the stewardship process begins, and you're just getting cash. Like no more of those checks from a DAF account. Like so much of this stuff is solved for. And some of the hardest cases, I would say, are the charities who have that PDF with brokerage instructions. And they go, no, we're good. We already take stocks. They'll call us if they need it. We'll send them a PDF. And you have to like explain, actually, the solution you have is no longer a solution. It's an impediment.
Well, it's just like anytime I have to sign a document, if it's not in a DocuSign and I got to print it off, it's in the PDF, sign it, scan it, and then get it back to you. It's like, all right, this is going to take me a week to actually get this thing back to you. I don't even have a printer anymore. Like I got to go to my office. I have 3 offices. I got to go to the one office that has a printer and print it, sign it, scan it, get it back. It's like, well, that's like 10 minutes of my time. I would much rather the 30 seconds of my time to just sign it with a DocuSign and get it back. It's the same way with giving. The easier you make it, the less time it's going to take them to donate, and the more likely it is they're going to get you that donation a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I just sent my first DAF donation to a nonprofit, and it was through a direct mail appeal. They sent a direct mail appeal to, I'm 30 now, I was 29 at the time. I opened up a piece of paper, I hovered my phone over a QR code, it pulled up this Chariot integration. And in a couple of clicks, it logged me into my account and I initiated the transfer. It was over. All my details went to the nonprofit. The transaction went through, the cash hit their bank account, and I could just do that in seconds. Like if they said, we'll take a DAF donation, go log in somewhere and do it, there was a 0% chance I would do it. And that was a week after, similar to your printout thing. I canceled a life insurance policy because they said I have to send them a check.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't trust you anymore. It's not even the work of it. Like I could go to a bank and get a checkbook, but I'm like, you can't take a bank transfer? And they said no. And I was like, what are the odds that you're safe with my information? Like there's even a trust factor, I would say, when you go to a nonprofit site and the processes are dated. It's like, well, if accepting money and getting money to the cause is like one of your primary functions, if you don't take that process seriously, then why would I assume that you'd be like innovative and effective when it comes to using those funds? Which isn't even necessarily a fair assessment. Like tons of charities are legacy institutions who have a great process. But I'd say younger donors more and more are going to look at stuff like this and go, if they have a broken website, if they have a broken giving process, why would I assume that they're using the best and the brightest technologies when it comes to solving the actual problem that I'm attempting to fund?
Yeah. So this has been a lot of great information today. And, some of my key takeaways are definitely the benefits of accepting cryptocurrency is the capital gains, eliminating the capital gains that you can pay on the growth of your cryptocurrency. That you don't need to fully understand cryptocurrency to still work with cryptocurrency. Working with companies like yours, the Giving Block, and getting the knowledge and the resources and really just going to your website to get educated is a great place to start. And then, adding it to your site, isn't enough. You have to then market and create a campaign to, the millennials and the people that have cryptocurrency to be able to make it accessible to them to donate to you. And I'm assuming that those are all things that the Giving Block can give people and give nonprofits kind of guidance on, isn't it?
Yeah. So what we do as like a high level overview is we set up the nonprofit with what ends up being a copy and paste donation form that goes on their site that allows them to accept any of the top cryptocurrencies, have that cryptocurrency hit an exchange account, instantaneously sell for US dollars, and then push it via bank transfer to that nonprofit. So like the acceptance process is fully automated. It's not just accepting crypto like it used to be with wallets where it's now sitting somewhere and there's price volatility. It's accepting crypto that's instantly cash, which I think is important. So that onboarding process, which exchange it is, what type of account, what is all automated and set up for all those top cryptos, like that's what a lot of the code does. In addition to providing that form, we have what's called like our activation program. And it's exactly what you just described. We want to make sure it's not a donate crypto button that collects cobwebs. And it really is something that a nonprofit can fix in a matter of days if they just make it a priority. It's making sure, again, that you have a ways to give menu that's discoverable for a donor and that crypto is sitting in there in the same way any other donation method would be. Like if I click your donate button and the card form pops up and I want to find some other way to send you money, can I get there? Even if it's not really actively presented? And can I get there on desktop and mobile? And then once I get there, is it easy to send? It's not an infinite scroll down. Like all of those considerations that I think have a major impact on conversion rates. We solve for that through the activation process. And then once that's done, we have a knowledge base, we have fundraising strategists, we have a support team of folks from nonprofits, toolkits, et cetera, that are all designed to do exactly what you just described. Like, how do we put this in front of our donors? And it starts with nonprofits kind of self-assessing. We do not want a nonprofit with no account on X, for instance, tweeting all day long because so many crypto users are on Twitter, right? It starts with things that we just discussed. You've got this big major gift campaign that's going on. It's part of a capital campaign. You're putting this direct mailer out, and you could slip a couple QR codes onto a piece of paper that have things like crypto stock and DAF. And then use this big, really effective, highly targeted campaign to the types of donors you think might have it, and use that as a way to solicit that crypto. And then you should just find ways throughout the years as you build up the program to increase that exposure. And then the last leg of this, if you want to do it, and lots of our clients do, but it's that final step, you don't just jump to it, is crypto campaigns. And that's where it gets fun. The donors have been seeing this option in your giving appeals. They've seen it in emails. They've considered it. They have crypto. They've given sometimes. And then you get to like Crypto Giving Tuesday at the end of the year or the month of December for those tax reasons. And now a nonprofit can be like, hey, the next $50,000 in cryptocurrencies are matched dollar for dollar. And we're using these to build a school for the first time via crypto funding. And now you've got this really cool kind of engaging appeal that you can put on social and hit those donors with. And they've already thought about giving this to you. They know it's a donation method. And that's where you get that really high conversion rate and the fundraising upside.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Get everything ready for Crypto Giving Tuesday. I didn't even know that was a thing. But now if it's a thing, then everybody needs to have crypto, the ability to accept crypto on their site this year to make sure that they can take advantage of that day. Awesome, Pat. Well, hey, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We got a lot of great insights on cryptocurrency and the benefits of accepting it for your nonprofit. Thanks again for being here, and we'll can't wait to have you back and share some more of your insight down the road.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
You got it, Pat. Thanks a lot. Before we wrap up, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Charity Auctions Today. If you're looking to boost your fundraising with an easy-to-use auction tool, they've got you covered. From silent auctions to live events, they help you reach more donors and raise more money for your cause. Ready to take your nonprofit to the next level? Head over to charityauctionstoday.com to learn more and get started for free. Thanks again to Charity Auctions Today for sponsoring the show, and thank you again for listening to the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast. You're here. That means you're ready to take your nonprofit to the next level and make a greater impact. Come visit realtomkelly.com/playbooks to download free playbooks that your nonprofit can use today to start scaling to $1 million in donations. Plus, so much more. Catch the new behind-the-scenes insights on the next episode, and until then, here's to the impact you will make. I'm Tom Kelly. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and encourage others to listen.